Hello, good evening, afternoon, morning, depending on the part of the world where you are. My name is Ramon Marrades, and I welcome you to this session. Like after already a long day of really interesting debate on offices for change, mechanisms of public innovation. We'll try to dig deeper about those institutional mechanisms that different administrations, different public institutions have been created almost during the last decade. We are not discussing something that is totally new. There is some experience already, and we want to assess how those mechanisms have been evolving in the last years. Also, would like to know how these mechanisms for innovation within bureaucracy are dealing with COVID situation. And also, we will discuss the continuity of those policies and institutions when sometimes depend or are so close to political decisions on elected politicians. And we have today Fernando Vilarino, who is the director of the president of the European Network of Living Labs, which is an organization that works as an umbrella of living labs, actually not only in Europe, all around the globe. We have Laura Sobral, she is the director of A Cidade Precisa Você, the city needs you, but also a researcher on urban participation and cooperation in cities, and doing her PhD now in Lisbon, in Portugal. And she will talk about how cities are approaching innovation through cooperative lens. And we have as well Michele D'Alena. He's the director of the Office of Civic Imagination in the City of Bologna. Wonderful name for an innovation office. And actually, it's a local office that is bridging the world of living labs. It's actually a living lab, but with a strong cooperative point of view. So I'd like to move to an initial presentation from each of them, and then we'll have time for discussion. So I also invite you to react over the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on it, and I'll bring your questions or thoughts to the speakers to discuss them. So first, Fernando, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ramon. Thank you very much also, Charles, Benjamin, and all the organizers of the event, and all the people that are attending also through the internet. Thank you for your kind introduction. My background is I'm a physicist, and I've been working in computer science, which is the computer vision for the artificial intelligence of images and videos. And you may wonder what I am doing here then, if this is my background. Well, because I have another hat, and this hat is to be also the president of a network. And this network is the European Network of Living Labs. I will give a short introduction about living labs in a while for those for which the term is not, that they are not very familiar with the term. But yes, we are quite creative, as Ramon mentioned, with this network, because although we call ourselves the European Network of Living Labs, this is a global movement that has more than 450 labeled living labs. So we have an accreditation process with a methodology to give the standard of the quality of what a living lab should have. We have members in Asia, Africa, South America, and all around the world. The idea of a living lab is to have people in the center, and we're facilitating the contact of these living labs and the evolution of these living labs as well, with capacity building, and most important also, the connection between these living labs and our main institutions in Europe and the world, particularly the European Commission, but also the regions in Europe to which innovation is related, and also the municipalities. So this is one of the tasks that the European Network of Living Labs is doing, just to try to provide the access and to help our living labs to have access to good influence in the Euro policies and also the local and regional policies. As I was mentioning, I prepared this one slide that I usually have in order to introduce the concept of living labs. Living labs are about innovation. They are open innovation ecosystems that are citizen-centric, people-centric, with a multi-stakeholder implementation based on a systematic user co-creation approach. And this is key from the perspective of ENoLL. And this integrates research and innovation in the different communities, regional communities, local communities. When we talk about multi-stakeholder implementation, we are talking about a multiple helix approach. Multiple helix meaning that we are expected in our living lab to have the government, the industry, people, and academia, representatives of these four helix, this quadruple helix. And the question is, for what? Well, the idea is to create this open innovation ecosystem in a real life setting, being it a place, a physical place like a hospital, like a school, like a public library, etc., in which these co-creation processes are happening, in which we have the active involvement of the citizens, of the users of these spaces, or even in a virtual or a conceptual space. These are the basic features of living labs. And as you can imagine, these can have many different ways of implementation. But this would be a good approach to what a living lab is. So in the context of this event, what would I like to bring to you regarding the role that living labs can play for the innovation, for the creative bureaucracy? The first thing that I would like to give you is a number of examples in which this approach of multi-stakeholder, user-centric innovation have been developing during the last probably months or weeks. The first is the collaboratory. One of the task forces that we have in the European network of living labs is the Task Force for Social Innovation and Digital Rights. Here, what we are trying to do is to systematize, to try to harmonize the connection between different exploration arenas, explorative arenas. Some of them could be named as living labs, others as policy labs, sandboxes, etc. So we have created a methodology for getting these collaboratories and to build up from them what we call the universal innovation system. As we have universal innovation systems for education, or universal innovation systems, universal systems for health, we are expected also to have universal innovation system. And the idea is just to connect these labs and to start creating a layer of citizen labs as a network. And at the top of that, let's say the hard labs, the highly specialized labs. This is the approach of a collaboratory, the interconnection of the different labs. One example of that is Frena la Curva. Frena la Curva, which is flattening the curve, was an initiative that was created during the COVID-19 pandemic crisis in springtime. This is related to the Spanish-speaking community, and a number of public institutions got together in order to create a manifesto and to develop a way of communication between middle-tier bureaucrats, middle-tier public servants that didn't have the explicit mandate to develop those actions, but have the explicit mandate to have a solution to that. So the idea was to create this collaboratory of public administration at a regional, European, and also then Hispano-American level. Another example of this, and this is also I think that's quite relevant for the discussion that we'll have later, is the connection of the public administration with other stakeholders. And here, I would like to take the opportunity to provide the Universities for Public Innovation, also in the context of this of the Ibero-American framework. Here, the idea is just to modify or to translate the third role of the universities. Typically, we have for universities research, the teaching, capacity building, and technology transfer. This would be the third mission. Now, the third mission of the universities is translating into a different thing, which is orchestrating the innovation ecosystems and coordinating the process of social transformation. And this is through the knowledge that is generated. So here, public administrations find a very, very important ally in the development of innovation actions. And with the manifesto that the Universities for Public Innovation have been created, we are providing also the framework so that living labs can contribute to explore explicitly explore, and here's the key, explicitly explore new solutions and new actions. This has been already created through the pandemic. So eventually the COVID-19 has had a leading role in the push of the transformation that is happening both for public administrations and also for university with an accelerated digitalization process. I think that for the time being, this would be the two main or three main pillars that I would like to develop for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Fernando. Thank you very much for this great presentation. I hear that there was a slight problem showing the slides over the Vimeo, but the content and the audio was perfect, but they were cropped in a weird way. But I think like the technical team is trying to solve that. Most important thing, content was there. I thank you very much for this approach and explaining how different living labs and how are dealing with innovation and how they relate to other stakeholders. Now I'd like to give the room to Laura to talk about how different also public institutions at local level are approaching cooperation-innovation.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Ramon. Thank you for Charles and also all the organization of the festival. I'll share my screen. Let's go for it. Are we good? Yes? Okay. So that's about cooperation. So that's about our cooperation ecosystem. So synergies that enhance active citizenship. So a quite common challenge between cities, among cities, is a disconnection between citizens and public administration. So that leads to space, and that's to the generation of spaces that do not meet its users' needs or desires. So the result is quite underutilized spaces, and also waste of citizens' potential to improve the city. And I deeply believe, and I have been researching about it, that one of the keys on that, it's moving from participation to cooperation. So from talking to doing. So I have been focusing the last 3 years, especially, on agreement-based tools that make public administration more permeable and therefore able to exchange knowledge and cooperate with citizens. So it's about cooperation tools that can support active citizens initiatives, especially regarding the use, improvement, and maintenance of public spaces. One example would be if you have a small square close to your house, for example, or any green space or that is public. So there is, of course, the task of the regular pruning, gardening, of having the equipment or to take care of it, to fertilize the seedlings, and etc. This could, for example, being provided by the municipality, but also the frequent care and new plantings, or even like a training in permaculture. There's a lot of citizens groups that would be capable to do that and even willing to do that. And plus guidelines on green infrastructures such as rain gardens and etc. could be something that a university, for example, could collaborate with. So the idea is to have a cooperation agreement between many actors, many urban actors, that could lead to co-execution. So it's about implementing together things. So that's how some municipalities around the world are acting to cooperate with citizens, right? Developing these cooperation tools of co-production and co-governance, which means it's not about just thinking it together, but also implementing it together and maintaining it together, which it's about also the sustainability of it all. The cooperation tools, they can have many different well, they can be manifested in various ways. One, for example, would be the collaborative mapping and monitoring mechanisms. Just for a city administration to know what is happening in the city and which citizens are really active and what they're willing, what are their needs, is already a very powerful tool. For sure, the legal frameworks that enable cooperation, just as the Bologna regulation that we will probably hear something about from Michele, it's definitely an example of that. Also, open calls for prototyping and testing innovative projects. It's quite important. Not less important is the access. It's to have funding models which are accessible. And also online and online participatory platforms, and also spaces in which people could create things together and develop things together, from prototypes to public policies. And of course, innovation offices are pretty much in this category. Of course, there is more categories than that, but I have been trying to understand some tools in these ones. So some cases that I bring to very briefly share with you. It's a BIP-ZIP in Lisbon. It's a public policy that is a toolkit, actually, that they mapped priority areas of the city. And then they fund projects up to 50,000 euros each project that could somehow improve the quality of life of the neighborhood. So they also have close support on the field by having local offices that work as fast tracks between the municipality and the citizens. And they have organized networks between the associations and citizens groups that have already received this kind of grant before, so they are able to strengthen between them. Also, I saw in the program that Paula, who is the head of it, will be also talking in the festival, so I would recommend you to check that. Laboratorio para la Ciudad in Mexico was created in 2013. Gabriela Montes Gomez is also in the program, and it was awarded a Creative Bureaucracy Festival prize some years ago, so she will be with us in the program. It's about civic innovation, a place for civic innovation and urban creativity, in which pilot projects could be developed that could inform public policies. And the City of Madrid is an online platform that basically gather many types of participatory processes, including a participatory budget. And it was very close to Media Lab Prado, who is, I would consider innovation office. But we can talk about this further later in the discussion. So the idea of a cooperation ecosystem is that many different tools, right, can really make a city stronger in relation of innovation and cooperation towards more creative and actual functional city. So I have been studying how these different kind of tools can actually work together and facilitate the work of another one. So yeah, this would be a base of a cooperation system. Of course, not everything is included there, but some of them are. So it's about identifying local resources, facilitating the emergence of a civic financing sector, supporting micro innovation co-governance, having an online platform for participation, co-creating a legal framework for cooperation, and also to have spaces for collective building of common projects. With this, I say thank you very much. I have been, I wrote a book about that from my last period of research about this specific tools in Germany. It was 2017, 2018, and the book was out in 2019. Bologna regulation is one of the cases in the book. And yeah, you can find it online just for downloading it, the previous version, or to buy the super finalized version if you want. So with this, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Laura, very much. I really recommend everyone to check that very, very good book that that actually digs deeper in what Laura has been explaining. Now I'd like to give the floor to Michele. Michele is the director of the Civic Imagination offices, and I already mentioned within the Bologna's Foundation for Urban Innovation, which is also a joint venture between the municipality and the university, if I'm not wrong. And I'd like to, yeah, Michele, the floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you, Laura. You mentioned many times Bologna. Yeah, in Bologna we are working a lot. Bologna is a vibrant city. We have got an incredible history about public participation, and we have got a lot of practices and projects with high social, economic, and cultural impact, even when they carry out without the support of the municipality. First of all, I would clarify some new paradigms, because we are working without any trust in government. People don't trust to us. So when we speak about public policy, we have to say that people don't trust to us. And then second, classic approach to participation are in crisis. So we have to design new form of political activism with focusing on ICT and sustainability approach and proximity approach. And final, we have to focus on a new way to organize policy on short-term and medium-term investment. Speaking about urban commons, collaborative spaces, tactical urbanism. So with this scenario, Bologna is a city where since 2010, I think, we can see a lot of experiment with the new approaches, focusing on more of citizen engagement. In 2014, we create, the Bologna municipality create a regulation about urban common. So we have seen a lot of projects to implement new top-down and bottom-up tools and initiatives to support citizens. In this scenario, 3 years ago, municipality and university create a foundation, Fondazione Innovazione Urbana, and we work like an analysis and elaboration co-production lab focused on urban transformation. And I think that is quite unique, our work, because we want to, the foundation aims to affirm its role as a collective brain and hub of urban transformation. We have got 3 main areas: urban center to promote promotion of our city, civic imagination to activate and the co-production plots and participatory budgeting and labs to involve citizens, and mapping the present to analyze the urban transformation with a focus on data. So the innovative work of this new board foundation is evident, because our desire is to answer to the question about the city. But the question is, who are the main actors that have to decide the future of our city? So I'm in charge of Civic Imagination Office. And this team is a multi-professional team composed by architecture, sociologists, data analyst, communication manager. We organize spaces where citizens and public institutions can organize something together. It's very simple. We organize a lot of assemblies, a lot of focus groups, to encourage different forms of collaboration between the actors of the city. So using the necessary tools and methods depending on the context, through meetings, via web, our goal is to create listening, collaboration, and co-production processes in a stable way. Every month, every week, every neighborhood, we work on the ground. We speak about proximity approach because we create a permanent laboratory to foster different forms of collaboration. And we use to promote democratic spaces because we think that only supporting the activities of the municipality, we have to afford to bring the structure of the municipality, especially administrative law and the management approach, closer to the new activation models, the needs and the capacity of the citizen. So our approach is based on a new organization model. Bologna have 6 neighborhoods, so we organize our team with 6 community managers. So I can speak with Federico, and Federico is working on San Donato San Vitale since 3 years. So Federico knows exactly all the association, all the places, all the needs, all the capacity of this municipality, of the neighborhood. So we work with the municipality. We don't have any target. We have a lot of partners because our main goal is engaging permanently communities. So we work with them. We organize a lot of meetings. We use digital participation, activities, training support, workshop, focus group, using data to understand our city and to organize constant analysis about needs and capacity. Our proximity approach don't refers only to a physical scale, but it's like a dimension to activate network and discussion, trying to identify the administrative tools to innovate, capable of enable the civic potential of propose new models of city imaging. So we have to create a new way to design public policy only with the people, because we want to imagine it with the people, a new way to activate labs to understand the next challenges of the city. So I think that our case is quite unique because we have a stable staff dedicated to listen and to work with the people. So every day we organize whatever we need to connect the decision of the municipality to the energy of the ground, of the association, informal groups, the parents of the kindergarten or whatever, always to try to make more stronger the bridge between the high and the ground.
Thank you so much, Michele. I have to say that I really love the quote when you said you don't have targets, you have partners. It seems for me a beautiful way to explain in a just short sentence we're trying to mean in this.
You have to think about the target, because when you work in the city center, or in Piazza Verdi, the square about the university suburb, you can find a type of citizen. But if you go to Croce del Biacco, is a neighborhood at the border of the city, you have to change your languages, you have to change the time of the meeting, you have to change everything, because the city is full of a lot of differences. So our goal is to create the right approach depending on the context.
Yeah, thank you so much. But it's good to say that it's not only about doing for, it's about doing with as well, no? Yeah. And I want to start asking you some questions, but please jump into the debate whenever you feel so. But I'd like to start with Fernando, and also I have a request for you, because Soraya on the chat was asking if you can share again the slide on the open innovation ecosystem. Do you mind to share it? But I just wanted to start with a question, and maybe you can use that slide as a background, is how these things have been evolving. No, because how do you see the evolution of innovation offices during the last decade already?
Good. Thank you. Can you see the slide now properly?
I hope so. I do see.
Okay, good. Now I'm sharing my screen.
Yes, I confirm that it's well shown in the live stream. Thank you very much.
Okay, no, thank you to you. Well, as you can see, in the multiple helix approach, and this is the picture for Living Labs, we have government, industry, academia, people, etc. What we have seen is that the part of government has been growing during the last years. Usually academia has been one of the drivers of this type of actions, but during the last years I have been witnessed that there are a number of fields of action, and I could number them. For instance, health and well-being, also energy and environment, and also, for instance, Living Labs in rural areas are becoming areas of concern, and particularly in Europe this makes sense, because we are starting understanding how the regional funding, the regional schemes for innovation can be applied in order to create innovation. And it is a public administration, the regional public administrations, that are managing these innovation funds. So we have seen that there is, for example, growing Interreg projects, or growing beyond the age 2020 and the actual research and innovation framework. So this is an actual trend. It is also another trend that we are perceiving, is that we definitely think, or at least I think, that it has to do with the capacity building. The capacity building, meaning that we cannot expect, if you open, let's say, a post office, it works the day after you open it. If you open a public library, it works the day after you open it. A different thing is you have more or less users, etc. But if you open an innovation office, it is not working. It doesn't work, because it has to do with the gray matter, it has to do with the ecosystem interacting with it, it has to do with a number of actions that are not strictly working. And definitely has to do also with capacity building. And what we have been perceiving is that it is clear that these new social technologies that are needing, beyond the hard technologies, are more and more related to the capacity building and to the sharing of methods and tools for innovation also in the public sector.
Thank you, Fernando. This is marvelous. So we've been talking about capacity building, but also cooperation, proximity, new organizational models, and maybe I know that it's a massive topic, but I'd like you to reflect, maybe Michele first, about how this kind of new approaches, new elements from proximity to cooperation, capacity building, these new organizational models are being affected by the particular COVID situation, and how they are helping as well to do things better, especially on city level in your case.
Well, I am speaking about relation constant relation and proximity. For me, for the staff, the Civic Imagination office was very strange to reorganize, rethink our work. But we organize a new strategy for the city. You can find everything in our website. We organize some event with some intellectual personals, but I think that the most important thing that we organize a new way to support municipality, because we don't stop to listen to our community. We organize an incredible series of interview by telephone. We have interview 300 association after the lockdown to understand the new needs and new situation about the city from their point of view. So we organize some new project. First of all, we are trying to design an ethical platform for deliveries, implementing innovative solutions in response to the new urban needs, with the aim of rethinking together how to overcome the model of platform capitalism and prototype. We are prototyping a collective and solidarity-based platform, a cooperative platform. We call this project Consegne Etiche. So this project is a clear example that municipality can change our role. We are designing this platform with the cooperatives, with the proximity shops, and we bring their hands with us. We are working with them, designing the right solution. I think that Bologna, Bologna has a great DNA about cooperative approaches. So we are speaking about a new way to design ethical deliveries, but we have found a lot of expectation. People want to discover something new. So in these days we are closing the second phase of this project. You can find everything in the website consegneetiche.it. I think we have seen the space to innovate, so we are working on it. It's not easy because we have Deliveroo and the other monster much bigger than us. But we have a particular city behind us, and the city is nudging us to a new way. So I think that the next month we're gonna open an equity crowdfunding to fund capitals, but we want to bridge in a way equity crowdfunding, in another way cooperative approach. So we want to mix the approaches, bringing in Italy and Europe a new way to understand the big startup with cooperative approaches. We have speak a lot with Trevor Schultz and about cooperative platform, but in Bologna we can say something special.
Thank you. I guess that it's very interesting. How are you dealing with the long tradition that the city has about social movements and cooperative movements to the economy and the world that we inhabit nowadays? And you were reflecting already in the challenge of the gig economy and delivery, which is very important. but like there are those topics, those challenges that might be addressed with this kind of offices. We might think about over tourism, public space, but Fernando was pointing out as well other areas that maybe are not that, but maybe you won't think about them initially, as healthcare, for instance. And I want to ask Laura, with her perspective of knowing what's happening in different cities around the globe, which are the topics and challenges that cities can address better in a cooperative way?
Well, that's a wide question. Yeah,
we had all day, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I would say that like doing things cooperatively is just like a way of delivering a better service. So I really don't see limits on that. I think it can be used as health service, but of course for public spaces, open or closed. I mean, I have been focused on this, but then out of the blue, you find like a paper that talks about something related to that in a very different perspective. So I wouldn't say that there is a limit for that. On the contrary, I think it should be very normalized as a way of as public-private partnerships, for example. When you talk about public-private partnerships, you don't talk about one field of action, but today is it's quite diverse, isn't it? And I think that public and social partnerships, public social partnerships, if I can say that, it's just as broad as that. I mean, they could be a mean of doing things in absolutely, I won't say everything, because everything it's a lot, but I would say almost everything.
Well, thank you so much for that. So there is no limit for cooperation, but there are limits sometimes, is institutional limits for continuity. So you were referring in your research on two agencies that has been very, very important in the last year. One is Laboratorio para la Ciudad in Mexico, which was also connected to very, very amazing and strong personality, which is Gabriela Gómez Mon, that actually she was awarded with the Creative Bureaucrat Award 2 years ago. So she's also participating in the festival. But Laboratorio para la Ciudad has to close after some political changes in the city. And you were mentioning the City of Madrid as well, with a strong ideological background that was related and connected with Manuela Carmena as mayor. And now, even though they didn't close, the City of Madrid is quite questioned by the political powers. So I would like to ask you all three to reflect on continuity. So which are the challenges of continuity, and what happens when there are changes in political power?
I would have something like 2 minutes about, or even less, about this. I think that Lisbon is a quite interesting example regarding the BIPSIP that I just mentioned, because from the beginning it was a public policy very rooted in one particular political group, but this policy has been on or implemented now for 10 years. And it was slowly kind of seducing everyone, like as it really fosters the cooperation between different popular or civil society organizations. So if you have more people that want something, so you would like more probable to receive the grant, for example. Not until infinite, but in a sense you can find like a small church and a small community wanting to do a party, and a small informal skaters group wanting to have a small structure, and they would in a way dialogue to find candidacy that could have all these different elements. And this policy has been voted by unanimity the last year. So you can see that it's very rooted already on people's minds, on the territory. So I really doubt that it would be vanish quite rapidly, because I think it really conquered the hearts of very different profiles of people on the territory itself. I don't know, it's not one answer, but it's an interesting case to think about it.
But you were saying that as soon as people is really involved and they see the benefits of it, therefore like continuity is more or less guaranteed. How do you guarantee that, Michele, in your case? How do you create legitimacy to make sure that there is continuity of policies?
Well, I think that we have to speak about power. We need to clarify how power we want to give to the people. When we organize some labs, first of all, I need to clarify with citizens how many resources we give to them. We need to clarify the rule, the approach of the process, the frame of the participatory processes. Second, we have to clarify that we have time to grow up and to understand with a mutual learning with the people and with the association and the informal groups, that we have time to understand the best tools or instruments to put on the table. First, we have to clarify where we have to work. Where I say before, city center is very different from the other neighborhoods. So depending on the context, we have to change our way to work. Then we have designed a process and a civic imagination approach. First of all, we work inside the institution to clarify the administrative approaches about design the right way to engage people. So before to engage people, we want to work with deputy mayor to identify the resources. We want to work with the administration to clarify the tool to design the processes, because without cross institutional work, we can engage people. Then we want to organize a process with the association. So before to engage citizen, we want to work with the association of the territory, of the neighborhoods, especially also speaking about theme. And then after all this work, we can organize a process with citizen. But before citizen, we have to organize with the administration and with the association. So we speak about civic imagination approach, but because we need to have some tool that we can scale and replace depending on the context.
Thank you, Michele. Fernando, I just Michele was saying that they are designing processes, not outcomes. And you said at the beginning, Fernando, that innovation offices are something that per definition doesn't work. So we are not talking about highways that are self-explanatory, but at the same time, as Laura was saying, probably there is no limit for cooperation. But how do you see that? Not because the pure natural of experimentation makes those institutional framework much more fragile. What's your point on it?
Yes, definitely. Probably the way of facing it is that the challenges that we are having now, only one institution cannot solve. This is something that we know. We know that. We have the evidences. We cannot solve COVID, only one institution, but we cannot solve mobility, only one institution, and we cannot solve the new health system or from patient to protagonist one institution alone. If that is the evidence, then we have to go through this method of way of integrating all the stakeholders. And you were talking before about legitimacy. Eventually, if we are not having this as a mechanism also for the sustainability of the tool as a process, probably we are not doing it correctly. So as far as we are, and this is the vision that the Living Labs are providing, as far as we are getting to put together these forestry holders, we're getting the legitimacy in order to keep and to make it more resilient, more due to political changes. And I would like to have a final comment regarding one of the examples that I was mentioning. Due to the COVID pandemic, the frena la curva, the flattening the curve approach. So eventually, a number of public administrations instigated, not coordinated or led, but instigated by one of them, put them together. And the people who put together in this meeting, who was with the other colleagues, they didn't have the mission or the order from their superiors. So what I understand and what I perceive is that there is a pivoting change from the institutional approach highly planned to agile reaction in which there is also a trust for a public servant in order to develop the right movement and steps. So these people from institutional to person becomes now the instigators of this change to happen. And I think that this is a very, very nice approach to understanding the type of processes that we are driving. We have to instigate these changes so that it can agglomerate, it can put together all the stakeholders from a user-centric approach. And eventually, this is what has been happening with the COVID-19. At least this is what we are seeing, that the bottom-up approach is connected with the top-down. And here, beyond the pandemic and the tragedy of the pandemic, something new is happening.
Thank you so much. That also gives us a bit of hope for, I think we all must build trust, but that means that we should deserve trust as well. I could stay talking to you for a long time, but we are getting out of time. I just wanted to do like a final remark, wish, dream, forecast, or anything you want to bring on the table to conclude. Laura, Michele?
Laura?
Please, Michele.
I'd really love that there is no limit for cooperation, honestly. It's like there've been really, really beautiful quotes already, but for me, just I will keep that for food for thought during the evening, honestly. But I'm wondering if we can apply that for building highways as well, not for mobility, but that will be for a longer discussion.
Well, I know of a project in India that used that for civil systems, so I would say yes.
Michele?
I think that we have to try to listen more our cities, our territories, because we have an incredible number of vibrant new needs and capacities. So, and at the same time, our political system is in crisis. So I think that we have to bridge the ground and take everything to the toll.
Thank you, Fernando.
Fully agree with Laura and Michele, and Michele, sorry. And I would add that we need to invest in capacity building in order to develop these innovation actions. This is not going for free. There is no free food. If we need to develop innovation actions, we have to invest in our own personal development, in our position, in our places, in our workplaces, to develop new job profiles, because this is dynamic, and this is what is going to happen in the years to come. So it is expected also that all these innovation processes, open innovation processes, should be accompanied by capacity building, so that the people who has to instigate and coordinate these multiple X approaches have the right tools to do it and can make our lives better in our cities, in our regions, and the world.
Thank you very much. For me, it's been an immense pleasure to share this hour with three professionals that I really admire, and I really hope everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. There's a lot to expect in the following hour and days in the Creative Bureaucracy Festival. So thank you very much. We'll keep in touch and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ramon.
Bye.
Ciao.